have a ton of tips. And Sina, honestly, it was kind of perfect what you just said, because that was really tip number one. How many of you guys have done anything with my challenge to call 25 people a week? Can anyone raise their hand and say, okay, good, at least only one of you. That's terrible. Oh, two. Okay, yay. Thank you, Nancy. Janice raised her hand. Good, thank you. You're going to get content from your people if you will call them and if you will reach out to them. They are going to give you ideas. That's going to be your number one source of excellent content, is calling your people. And thank you for the people that are giving me the thumbs up that I can't see your face. I appreciate that as a way to respond and raising your hand. So that was my tip number one, is have you called your people and talk to your people about where they're at with their lives right now, because they will tell you what they want and where the kinds of content that they want to get and to receive, right? Tip number two, and these are in no particular order, all right? So make your notes. I am recording this, but the reality is you're not gonna watch it, so you might as well take your notes now. Okay, you're not gonna rewatch this. I know how this works, especially if you're here live. Oh wait, before I get into that, let me explain what today is. So today I'm just giving you tips on content that you can be doing videos about, all right? I do plan, not in the 9 a.m. chats, but separately to do some videos that I'm gonna actually post to YouTube under my Improve Your Hustle page. I have a YouTube channel called Improve Your Hustle. I put a lot of my hashtag Wednesday videos in there, but I'm gonna start putting more longer form content in there. And then I'm also going to start doing more podcasts on the same content. So if you whether listen to it, you can go to the podcast. If you wanna watch it with the slideshow and or my afro, right? And me, you can watch it on YouTube, right? Or whatever hair I might have on the day that I do that video, right? So maybe I'll do a challenge next week where every day I'll record a video with different hair. I don't know, do something to entertain myself while I do this. But I'm gonna start putting, so it's great to get that feedback from you guys about, you want videos on editing. I will tell you, I learned how to edit on YouTube. A lot of things that you guys are talking about, I learned from YouTube and podcasts. If you just literally search these things, if you don't want to wait for me to do an explainer video, you can go to YouTube and learn how to do pretty much anything and everything you ever thought you wanted to do. So I do want to put that out there, but I also will start putting more of this type of content on that YouTube channel. All right. So, but today, the next number two, right? So I think there's over 20 ideas I'm going to give you guys. All right. Over 20. Number two, what are 3 questions that you think buyers have right now? You have to ask yourself that. What are 3 questions that you think buyers have right now? What are 3 questions sellers have right now? They could be asking themselves, if I can, how do I see a house if I still want to buy? Should I wait to buy or sell today, or should I wait till this is over? Are people still buying and selling? Are people like, how do I get our home inspector still working? Is real estate, what can I do or what can't I do right now? That's what they're wondering, right? So that's content idea number 2. What are 3 questions? And then what I'm going to tell you to do with that is write down those 3 questions, answer them, and do 1 video each. So you have 3 for buyers, 3 for sellers. You don't need to worry about having 10-minute videos. Your goal is to have 1 minute or less. So if you ask yourself 1 question and answer that question, that could be, trust me, you'll probably end up being 2 minutes, right? In terms of, so we've got chats over here. So, Kendall, do you send some of these to your clients via BombBomb as well as posting on social media? So that's a great question, Nancy. I will tell you that the answer is yes. You can definitely, if you have BombBomb. So for those of you that don't have BombBomb, BombBomb is an email service for video. It's a way for you to specifically send videos to your clients. Normally videos are too big of a file to send through traditional email or traditional text. So you would purchase a program. BombBomb's the most popular one. I know Brian and Nancy Cross are both big users of it. Shad is as well. I know I have an account that I use as well. But there are other ways to distribute your videos besides BombBomb, but that is one way to do it. And it's great for the one-to-one, and you can track engagement there with your actual sphere of influence with BombBomb, because it tracks who opens the video and who's watching the video and clicking on links. So that's a great way to track engagement. But you also want to do social media as well. You know why? Because social media allows you to do that concept called digital door knocking, right? So actual door knocking, you guys might have heard me talk about this, especially on a Wednesday video or my podcast with Michael Thorne. But basically, when you actually door knock, who is that convenient for? Don't answer. The truth is, it's for us, right? It's on our time. It's when it's convenient for us, when we can actually get outside and door knock, which right now you can't do, right? But if you have stuff online, then your customer, you're digitally door knocking your customer, and your customer can interact with that content at their convenience, whether it's 10 o'clock at night, while you're in an appointment, while you're in lockdown at your home, while you're sheltered in place. They can constantly be interacting with your content. And I think that is better than even BombBomb, right? Social media is scalable beyond anything you could do face to face, right? And 55% of communication is in body language. And the only way you can communicate that effectively is either face to face or in video, right? And video is way more scalable than even face to face, right? Because if you literally go knock on 10 doors, that might take you an hour plus, but your video could be seen by millions, at one time, right? A day. So that's tip number 2. What are 3 questions buyers have right now? What are 3 questions sellers have right now? Write out 3 questions, answer them, record a video, put it out there. Number 3, what are 3 changes happening right now? And there's probably more than 3, but I'm just challenging you to think of 3 things, right? What are 3 changes that are happening right now? And you could write content just on that. And again, you could take each change and do 1 video each, or you can do a 5-minute video with all 3. Facebook right now loves content that's a bit longer. Sina talked about having the words at the bottom. That's called closed captioning. I think that if you're not putting your videos in closed captioning, you're making a huge mistake, because the one thing about things like Facebook and Instagram, you are subject to the scroll. That you're not, like, YouTube is a different place. People go there and they will go and sit and like consume YouTube for hours, much like Netflix and cable TV. But Facebook is a scroll source. And so if someone is actually on social media while in the bed early in the morning, or sleeping late at night, and they're with a spouse or someone else, and they can't turn the sound on, if you don't have closed captioning, they're not watching your video. And they're just going to keep scrolling. So, and they're not going, and social media doesn't always like put your video back in front of someone if they've already scrolled past it once. The algorithm thinks that it's just not engaging, right? Whereas if you can get engagement, then it'll start posting on other people's sites even after people have moved on. Does that make sense? So it's a very powerful tool. So, so what are 3 changes happening right now? That's number 3. Number 4. What are 3 things that have not changed? What is still the same right now? Oh, and Teresa asked, does Big View do closed captioning? Yes, it does. That's one of the reasons why I love it. And there are other, there's mixed, she said, Tamily said Mixtiles, but Mixed Caption, I know, is the name of another app. There's a bunch of them. There's Subtitles. There's a ton of closed captioning apps and applications out there and programs. None of them are free, just so you know, because someone either does it through a computer. Well, let me take that back. That's not true. 2 things are free to close caption. Facebook business page does it for free. YouTube does it for free. All right. But those aren't videos you will post. I don't know how you would, the problem is once you post them in there and they subtitle, I don't know how you pull it out to go share it anywhere else. Facebook, you just can share it out to groups from there. I don't know how you would get that video into Instagram, for example. And you don't want to actually do something in YouTube and then try to post that in Facebook, because Facebook doesn't like linking back out to other applications. to get the best algorithm out of Facebook, you want to post direct into Facebook, right? So those of you that, yeah, here I am giving you tips outside of this content thing. I know too much about this stuff and I can't stay focused on it, but to tell you about that, when you have there are programs out there that you're going to be tempted to use that will allow you to post, like you upload it in one place and then it feeds it to 10. Be careful with that because like for example, BigView. I never post, even though I record my videos in BigView, I never post to social media from BigView. I pull it down and download it into my phone, so it's native, and then I post it directly into those different sites. While you think it saves you time, problem is these algorithms know better. And they believe that you're just doing mass postings, and then they deprioritize those. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm using the right language, but I'm just, trust me, for your algorithm purposes, it's better to natively and organically post into each place separately. All right? Okay, thank you. Next, number 5, right? We're on number 5. Okay, Eric has a question.
Do you retitle them for searchability?
Say that again?
So when you download it natively, do you rename the file to title it for searchability?
It's on my phone. I don't name anything on my file, on my phone. I don't. Okay. So I guess you could. I just have never done that. I never needed to.
Okay, I had heard this person say that if you do that, then when people search on YouTube, since it's also search, that it then will search better if you retitle it, because if you don't retitle it, it just has that string of numbers.
Yeah, that may work. I've never looked into that or researched that. So.
Okay, I didn't know if you did that. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I just haven't done it. I'm not familiar with that, but that could definitely, it might work. I promise I don't know everything.
All right, I figured, I was just wondering if it was worth the time.
Yeah, that's something to test. That's something I'd have to learn and test it. And then when I learn how to do it, I'll teach it. If I know how it works. But great question. I just did number 4, right? So I'm on number 5. All right, number 5. What's your goal? And when I say goal, not your financial goal, what's your client goal? Like some people might say like your mission and purpose, right? So I learned about that in a book called Start With No. Yes, it's called Start With No by Jim Camp. I read that a couple of years ago, but he said you need to have a mission and a purpose for your business and for pretty much everything you do, every negotiation, everything that you kind of head into. And so I want you to think about what's your, and maybe, and be a little bit more, more deep and more authentic and more thoughtful than my goal is to help every client I know to buy a house they love, you know, so like get a little deeper than that, but along those lines, right? Like, you know, I want to, you know, and share that, because sometimes when you can connect to people that way, when they recognize like that you're passionate about serving them and helping others, like for example, I've told you guys, some of my goals are Entelechy, not just for me, but for you, right? Like helping you, making your dreams reality. And the other thing is, I've also told you my mission and purpose is to learn, test, teach. And you guys engage with me on that. Like you become, and then I deliver that and you guys have learned to trust me for that, right? So that is a goal that I have that connects me with my customer base or my partner base, right? Which is each of you. So I'm gonna challenge you to think about that and then share that in a video. People find that stuff interesting. I don't know if you guys realize this. So I was on Start With The Win podcast. We recorded a while ago. It just came out this week, ironically on April Fool's. Seriously, Adam? So that was with our CEO, Adam Contos. And it was great though, because I talked about, you know, one of my purposes that I feel, which is to learn, test, teach. And I was getting Facebook DMs of people across the world. I got DMs from people in other countries telling me like how they related to that, you know, and that mission. And they sent me videos and sent me, you know, like asking me to connect and things like that. So you could have this potential reach just by sharing with others what your mission and your purpose is, right? And there's something fulfilling about that when you identify that for yourself and share that with others, and then you actually see it come to life. Like, I can speak to that from personal experience. There's such a personal fulfillment that comes from knowing what your mission and purpose is and then actually fulfilling it. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. Number 6, shout out the people you've helped in the past. Have you thought about that? Just saying, hey, like right now you're celebrating anniversaries of people you have helped in the past. Hey, it's been 1 year since we spoke, or 6 months ago, or hey, just last quarter, thank you to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so who I was able to help last quarter buy or sell, a house. You don't need to mention addresses or anything, but shout them out and tag them. You might get testimonials back as a result, right? And thank yous. So shout out people you've helped in the past, whether it was last year, last quarter. Thank you to people that, you worked with, maybe even that, shout out. There's so many people you could shout out, but the point is to shout out to others. Just do a video thanking specific people. I know Cena did a video when she started her challenge of just, loving on her brother and thanking her brother, and people were so positive about, they watched the video and they loved it, and they loved the connectivity that she was showing in her relationships. There's so many people you can be shouting out right now that you can get engagement with your videos on, right? Number 7. What resources have you come across that would help someone else? You have come across some resources. I've given you resources that other people could benefit from. This is in alignment with Eric's goal to do a video on the PPP program, which right now is a fiasco if you watch this morning's news, because the applications were supposed to drop today and they're not available. I guess the government just gave some guidelines to the banks last night. So the banks aren't prepared yet to turn that around. And so they're waiting. So just so you know, that's still in flux, but that's something that people need to know about, right? So someone did a question. Okay, what's the PPP program? That's the payroll protection program that the government is giving out to small businesses. That's that $350 billion. So that's an example. The other thing that I wrote at the top of my notes that I failed to say, everything that when you're thinking about your video content, remember the acronym I gave you earlier this week, which was LEAD: listen, empower, appreciate, develop. You will find pretty much everything that I've been talking to you about, you could probably tag to one of those things. It might be, if you listen to your customers, they will tell you what they want to know, right? Remember, I gave you all those acronyms from that other book I read. Find out what they want, go and get it, give it to them, right? And that requires you to listen and reach out to them. And that's why I did the challenge earlier this week, was start calling your database, find out how they're doing, what's going on in their world, where are they at? Because I'm going to give you some content ideas as well that have nothing to do with real estate, but can also be used for connecting with your people. So another list of ideas, sorry, I have to change my screen here. So another idea is help others who are working from home for the first time, and offer tips and apps and software like Zoom video chat tips, tricks, and hidden features. Like some of you guys, because you're now using Zoom a lot, have really figured out some cool things that you can do with Zoom in order to support your business, right? Hold on one second. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Okay, perfect. So, so that's one thing that you can be doing as well. Number 2, ways to continue supporting local businesses, such as restaurants that are still offering takeout options, right? Like right now we need to still figure out who's working and who's not, who's open and who's not. And, how can we support them? I know another local realtor, not with our office, she started a Facebook group, help small local businesses stay alive and survive through this, and invited a bunch of people to it. Another one is at-home fitness workouts, ideas, plans, and top podcasts and videos to keep your mind sharp, right? Let's do some stuff like that as well, because people, they need activities right now to stay sane. You remember, it's like stay home, stay safe, stay sane. So think about some things that they could be doing to do that as well, and give them some video ideas, or use video to share those ideas. Another one is ideas for parents to keep their children entertained while they work during the day. There are still some people that are still working, even though their children are home and having to still do, because a lot of these kids are doing schoolwork part-time, or like my most frustrating thing with Pasco County, for example, is I have 2 different students in 2 different systems. One's that goes to private school, one's in public school, right? So the private school, my son has to be at school at a specific time, and his video chats with his teachers with breaks built in, and it's very structured and then he has the end of the day, right? And then they have like office hours afterwards. I love this. Thankfully, my son is pretty self-disciplined. He gets himself up and he does his thing. My daughter, on the other hand, is in the Pasco County school system, where there is no structure. She can do her work when she wants, how she wants, at whatever pace she wants, basically. I'm very frustrated by this, honestly, because it's hard to keep her structured in that environment. So let's give some tips to parents on how they can create a routine for their children and create more structure for them, right? I mean, I feel like my daughter's already on summer break, yeah, right? With putting in a couple of hours of work a day, because she can breeze, because she's savvy on the computer, she can breeze through this stuff. But that leaves a lot of time for her to have nothing to do really, where I'm not used to that, right? So what are some ideas for parents to keep their children and teenagers entertained while they work? The next one, fun things to do with your family while social distancing. What are some fun things that they can do? There are some, with this, I was like using Zoom, because we did our virtual happy hour last night, right? That's another idea that you can, that's a fun thing that people can do. Community happy hours. You guys can lead them in your own community. Invite your neighbors to a virtual happy hour. And then there's now games that you can play, like Jackbox.tv, which is on Twitch, as well as some other games. You can just Google it and they'll give you some ideas. In fact, for our next happy hour that we do, I'm going to try to find a game that we can play that's relatively low key and easy and fun, just to be fun and engage, right? So come up with some ideas, invite some people, do a video in your communities and post it in a lot of communities here in our market have Facebook groups, right? So post your video in there. And that's a place where you guys should consider posting a lot of your content as well, if it's relevant. And these are things that I think are socially sensitive while still building a reputation for yourself as a real estate professional. Because remember, more than that, you want to be also known as a community ambassador, right? Remember, I always talk to you guys about, in order to become an influencer, you need to become a resource and an authority and an ambassador for your local community. And so that's what you'll be building those 3 things by doing this video content, right? Another one is doing a video about shows and movies to watch on Hulu, Netflix, and Disney, right? I mean, Tiger King right now is a thing, and so it's just stuff like that. And it's so bad, right? Who's watched Tiger King? Wait, hold on. I can't see you guys yet. Has anybody watched Tiger King? Yeah, okay. It's so tragically bad. It's so tragically bad. Yeah, it's so bad. But hey, it features Tampa, right? I mean, like, we're a highlight, a low light.
Not in a good way.
No, I know. I was like, we're like a low light in our local, across the country, right? Oh God, I know.
I get mad at myself after I watch it.
I know. I meant to start this video today with, hey, cool cats and kittens. And Bill called me out because apparently I'm a fan of Big Cat Rescue. I didn't even know it. I know someone who's volunteered there before. So I think that's how that happened years ago. And those of you from KW know her too. Laura Martis. I think that's how I got affiliated with Big Cat Rescue. But anyway, hold on. I'm going to check the chat box here because I missed a bunch of messages. So Teresa gave a tip. She created a schedule for her kids and then calling the spare and clients they asked, I share. Julie asked, is that number 7, 9? I mean, I don't know. I stopped tracking count because I have multiple. Sorry, we're on number 12. I think 10. Hated it. Tiger King is horrible. Okay, yeah.
You had like, what kind of tips can you give people? And you had a list of it, and then you went to other tips. So I wasn't too sure what number we were on.
Tips.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
tips we could do for other people for what though? I've had all these things are tips.
Yeah, that was number 8, and you gave us a list, so I was kind of confused, but it's okay.
Okay. I don't know. I will go back and re-summarize all of these at the end. How about that? Another one. What number are we on? Did someone, what is it, 15?
I'm on 14.
Up to 13.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say, I think it's actually 14 is next based on where I'm at. Number 14 is your listings. If you have listings or there's listings in the office, do virtual tours or virtual open houses, and tell the story behind the home. I would use like one of my favorite apps that I talked to you guys about before is like Mixcam. Again, that is device specific, but look for videos where you can have dual recording if possible, so people can see you and see what you're looking at, like Mixcam or let me see on my phone, there's another one. But most of these I think work for iPhone 11, which is what I have. Double Take is another app, and these are free apps that you can use to use both sides of your camera. It's recording on both the front and the back at the same time, creates interesting video. And so if you do virtual tours or virtual open houses, you can tell the story behind the home, or even build a list of homes that have virtual tours on an MLS search and send that out to buyers that you are working with or have been working with over the past month or two, right? So that's another idea that you can do, whether you have a listing or you can choose a listing. You know, I know there's listings in this office that are vacant. Using that as a place to start if you're looking to build some content like that to get that out there. Another thing is housing market updates. You know, people want to be informed and educated on what you do and know best. And I think people want to know, they're curious about the housing market right now because it's so local specific. Like in some states, in some areas, like it is completely shut down, but that's not the case here, right? And you have an opportunity to share that. That's not completely shut down, but we are doing it safely and to help the people that need it. Like, and speak to that group, because it's not about, we all know, right? One of the rules that has never changed is you cannot make someone buy or sell a house, right? Typically people don't buy or sell a house unless they're highly motivated to do so. And those motivations come from any number of places. And I'm telling you, people are still motivated currently and will continue to be motivated even after this is over. And in fact, some might be even more so motivated because of what we're dealing with right now. So housing market updates, while that is static content as opposed to evergreen, that is highly relevant right now. And I'm not seeing anyone actually do, I shouldn't say anyone, but there's very few people that are doing really good market updates. I know there's a handful of people in our office, but some of you do it via BombBomb. Some of you, like I know Lindsay started a chat, you know, like a Facebook live chat that she's doing, you know, for her sphere of influence. So I know there's a few of you doing it, but more of you guys could be doing it and using the resources that you have in order to tell customers what's happening and give them an unbiased, informed information. You know, remember, give them the facts. I mean, it doesn't even have to be about what your opinion is about what the market, where the market is and where it's going. But like, hey, right now, this is what's happening. And 12 months ago at the same time in April 2019, which was a very strong year, mind you, this is what was happening then. And then you might even say, and then April 2009, this is what it looked like. And just give people facts, like what those numbers look like so they can get a big picture view and understand what's happening from that perspective.
So
Yes.
Kendall, I was wondering would a good thing be to talk about like in Pasco County, even though we're going through this what we're going through, that there have been X amount of homes that have went on the market over the last week or two and X amount sold. Is that the kind of market update you would tell?
Yeah. Tell them what the facts are. Tell them what's active, what's pending, what's sold in the last 30 days.
If they hear that, then those that were on the fence about putting their house on the market may say, wow, I didn't know that many houses were going up each day, or people are still out buying, even with what's going on.
You don't know how they're going to react. That's the thing. That's my other thing. We are making way too many assumptions about how people are going to interpret the information we give. Sometimes we think they're going to take that information, go negative, and you might be surprised. Even just like how you all think like, oh, I shouldn't call them. They're probably really stressed out and, they don't need me bothering them. That's not true. First of all, let me just tell you, that's not true. I had a broker friend of mine call me just to check on me last week. And I was like so shocked, but so appreciative of the call. She didn't have to do that. And I was humbled by it and grateful for it. So trust me, no one's at home hoping you don't call them. They're really not. They'd be happy at times like this. They'd be happy to hear from you. It's probably more relevant than ever for them to hear from you. Let me review the chat. What's your opinion on same location for videos? I think that's called staging. Jimmy Fallon does it in front of the same backdrop every single day. So 100%, it's not a big deal. If you think that's a bad thing, I think that's a good thing.
Okay, that was really my question, just because someone mentioned, I think Nancy mentioned it about doing a whole bunch of videos at one time and being able to share them, at different times. I think that I might be able to have more success with that because I have to kind of build up that courage to do it. So if I'm having a good day, maybe I'll run in there and change a shirt or something, maybe to make it look different. I don't know. Yeah. And then just record a few. Yeah,
I think having a change of wardrobe would be good. That's fine. It's probably not a bad idea, but I look for consistency. Like when I change my background, if you guys remember from my #Wednesdays videos, I recorded in the same spot every time and I changed it annually. Like each year I kind of would do a redress of my backdrop, right? This is staged. Back here, this is a room in my house that I staged, knowing when I would record on my computer and do certain videos like this, that I had that in the background on purpose, right? So I don't think anybody will think I think it'll look like, yeah, that you're professional because you have a staged experience. The other thing that you guys can do, use your Zoom to record videos. And then you can change the background to whatever you want. It's an automatic green screen, right? Without a green screen, right? I mean, so you don't have to feel like you need a green screen, like, oh, I can't go in the office because I don't have a green screen or I don't have a good background. I can't stage a background. You all have access to Zoom now. You can do a Zoom for one, hit record, share your screen, like talk about video editing and all that stuff, like use it, record it, and then post it. It's, there's really no excuse. You don't need to wait until you have this great camera and this great this and that and the other. You already have it. It's in the palm of your hand, first of all. And second of all, it's the device you use every single day. Does that make sense? Are we good with that? Okay, good. Dual camera app on Android. Oh, double side camera by Big G Studio. Thank you, Shad, for taking care of my Android peeps since I'm an iPhone user. And so if you guys need that, again, it's dual camera app on Android if you have an Android. And then, okay. So then let me get back to my tips. Another one, so is that 15, 16, 17? Team member and vendor spotlight. These can be stockpiled for evergreen content as well. So highlight, if you're on a team, if you're a team leader, highlight team member, or like I said, more importantly, do vendor interviews and vendor updates. Again, use Zoom to connect with vendors and use that to share with your audience. People want to hear from home inspectors. People want to hear from lenders. People want to hear from appraisers. People will want to hear from title. Like, how has this process changed? What are we doing differently in light of, COVID-19? What do we think is going to change going forward, right? I mean, it's such an interesting time right now because while things are changing very drastically immediately, many of us are hoping it'll get back to normal when this is over. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a new normal. It's not going to be as business as usual. It's going to be business as unusual currently, and it'll probably continue that way. So now is going to be a big time for change. Nancy put in the chat, you can use the hot sheet on MLS to check 24 hours, 3-day and 7-day stats, and you can customize that for your area. And Julie likes the tip of do a Zoom video interview and then post it from there. That's how I do my podcast, guys. I just instead of using the video, I use the audio content because Zoom, you can record audio separately from the video. So that's one of the reasons I've been using Zoom for, a while now, and why I'm so comfortable with it is because I've used it even for my podcast. Does that make sense? Or I mean, I don't know why I say that all the time. Yes, Julie.
I went to Zoom through Remax, right? And I went to buy the Pro, and it says that I already have it, but I didn't pay for it.
You don't technically have Pro, you have basic enhanced. You probably will have to go into Zoom directly to pick up the Pro program. No,
actually you can buy it through Remax.
Okay.
So I read it in somewhere email saying that we have that ability to use Pro, and they gave it to us, like the Remax gave it to us. The only thing is that
you have to enhanced basic.
Yeah, enhanced basic. So yesterday I went to buy it because I need more than 4 people in a meeting. So
it'll allow you to do more than 4 people. It's just not for more than 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Like, you're limited in terms of time when it's more than 2.
Okay. So I don't know why they wouldn't let me purchase it. But I have to go through Remax.
You don't have to go through Remax.
No, I know you don't have to go through Remax, but I think if you go through Remax, that maybe we can use the Pro version. I don't know.
You still have to pay for it.
I don't know why they won't let me pay for it.
Like
okay.
I said, go direct to Zoom, right?
Okay.
Go direct to Zoom.com, and it's $15 a month, and they make you pay for a year at a time.
Okay.
So, Nancy put in the chat 4-year running month-by-month history of market stats. So she put something in the chat, a link there. If you like it, save your chat and take a look at that stuff. Hi to the real Olivia. So anyway, all right. So next, have your clients submit raw user-generated testimonials. So another content idea is send a video to your people and this is a good one-to-one video or a good just general post. But I would do it one-to-one, just intimately, and ask them for videos. And then that is content that you can also post on your social media as well. Another one. What number are we on? No one knows. Okay, sorry.
18.
18. Okay, that makes sense. 18 makes sense. Next, find 3 stories to tell with 3 good lessons for buyers and sellers. Almost all of you guys on this chat has worked with a buyer or a seller before, or several, and you have a story to tell, whether that led to a successful closing or that led to an unsuccessful one, right? There's lessons in both. Find that story and share it. Tell people about it. Turn it into a lesson. Like once upon a time, I had a buyer. I'm going to give you a real story. That's not my story. It's one of our agents from, I don't know, however long ago. But one of the stories is we had a buyer who had bought or sold a home or something, or had heard something in the down market. So now she's buying a home in a normal, we'll call normal market, right? This was maybe a couple of years ago. And she had learned, or she believed wrongly, that she didn't need a home inspection because there was an appraisal inspection that was going to be done, and that she was just going to forego a home inspection and just rely on the appraisal inspection to determine whether she should continue to buy this house. Well, as we all know, appraisal inspections have changed tremendously from the market we had in 07, 8, 9, 10, and 11 to what we have in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and now 2020, right? Or 2020, right? So she went to go buy the house, and of course, so she didn't do a home inspection. The appraiser just did like a very generic appraisal, did not come up with anything. She buys the house, and one day after realizes there's a leak in the home. Doesn't that make you just so sad? And she wanted to so of course now she's upset and wants to wants to find out what her remedies are. It's like, well, you bought the house as is with the as is contract. We specifically told you numerous times to get a home inspection. You didn't. We have it in writing with her saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do the appraisal inspection, because she was VA. Even worse. And then she ended up buying a house with a bunch of problems. So what's the lesson in that? Get a home inspection, right? Do not forego the home inspection. Invest the $300 because it could save you thousands later. So that's a story, an example of a story that you could tell that gets a point across to the customer, right? So think of some stories, both positive and negative, that you can share that has a lesson, and do one video per story. That's 3 videos right there, and more, right? Because some of you have even more stories than that. And another one is write out the buyer process. This one, kudos to Brian, but this one I already had on my list. But write out the buyer process, write out the seller's process, and do 10 videos explaining each step along the way. Cut it up into 10 steps, and explain to them each step of the way. So write out the buyer process, write out the seller process, and do 10 or more, however many videos. Maybe it takes you 5, but you could easily break it up. Don't worry about those video being too short. They have videos out there that are 6 seconds, 15 seconds, 29 seconds, right? Out there right now as terms of commercials. You just want people to enjoy your content, right? So number 20, maybe? Are we at 20 or 21? Oh yeah, I did that one already. Home improvement tips and ideas. People are home and bored. People want ideas right now. Like, what could I be doing? This is a time to, clean the closets. They can put up shelves. They could paint rooms. There are things that many projects that, reorganize, declutter, right? Just decluttering is good whether you plan to sell your home or not, right? Not to mention preparing your home for listing tips in a COVID-19 era. Like, wipe off your door handles with Clorox wipes. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Wipe off your sinks and your sink handles. There's just all these kinds of ideas that are changing the way that people live and interact in our lives that we could be sharing videos with them about. Another one is, and this one's a little more sensitive, but community oriented. And that is do videos. Like right now, kids are relying on, they were relying on school lunches and school breakfasts to be fed. And they're not physically in school. And so we have children that have homes but are hungry. Share the resources to where parents and families can go to get food for the kids and for their families. Like, there is an audience there for that. There's an audience there for how people can help the homeless, right? Like right now, our homeless is used to us going in and out of stores and different things and then feeding them along the way. And right now, no one's leaving their home. They, you know, right now people aren't volunteering at food pantries anymore. I know, like, there's a few of you that are. I know Sina and I were talking the other day how she's still doing some volunteering and wearing gloves and trying to be safe, but, you know, not neglecting our communities, right? So think about the neglected parts of our community and highlight that and how people can still help. Because despite what we're all going through, there are some people who are really, really, really suffering. And then there are people that aren't, that are okay right now, at least for now. And they're still in they have an ability to help. And so do you. You have an ability to help, even if it's just to communicate the need and remind people that we are a community at the end of the day. So that was actually 2. Resources for where kids can get food, and resources for how people can still help the hungry and feed the hungry, right? So that's those 2. And then last but not least, the last idea I had was, what businesses are still essential and how does that impact the everyday person? What's essential, what's not essential, and how does that impact people? Knowing whether, like, hey, I need, you know, because I think like contractors are still essential. I don't quote me on that. I'd have to go look. I didn't really pay that much attention to them, but I've heard that in the past that in some places they're essential, right? Well, someone might think like, oh, well, now's a good time to call a contractor out to do A, B, and C on their home. I don't know. But my point is that, you know, go through that list, get familiar with it, get educated on it, and think about, how does this impact the everyday consumer? How can they benefit from this? How are they impacted by it in a negative way? And do a video explaining it and knowing how it can help or harm someone, right? And or what local businesses to still support because they're deemed essential, right? Because that's also a way to keep our community alive. So that was my last but not least one. That was a lot. I think that was like 20 something plus ideas, because you can break some of those down into multiple videos. So now you guys have enough content to not only do your RCR 100-day challenge, but more, right? Because there's stuff we didn't even talk about. So I hope that answered some of your questions about video sensitivity. And, you know, I think I tried to bring some content in that has, that's very relevant to today, as well as what could be relevant going forward. So do you guys want me to repeat the list without commentary? And I'll just like, okay, yes, I'm gonna do that. Number 1 was, have you called your people? Call them, content found here. Your people will tell you what content you need to be producing. Number 2, what are 3 questions buyers have right now? What are 3 questions sellers have right now? Answer those questions. Number 3, what are 3 changes happening right now? Right? What are 3 changes happening right now that are impacting life? And number 4, what are 3 things that have not changed? Right? Number 5, what's your client goal? What's your mission and your purpose? Share it. What's your MMP? Share that. Number 6, shout out people that you've helped over the last year or the last quarter. Tell them thank you. Appreciate them, right? Number 7, what resources have you come across that would help someone else that you can now share, right? What are some resources that you've come across? That's unlimited stuff right now, guys, right? You could be teaching people how to use video for their business, right? Stuff like that. So that was 7. Number 8, help others who are working from home for the first time. So offer tips, applications, software like Zoom, video chat tips, tricks, and hidden features. Number 8, share ways to continue supporting local businesses. Like, for example, restaurants that are still offering takeout options is an example. Number 9, share at-home fitness workouts, ideas, plans, and top podcasts or YouTube videos to keep their mind sharp. What did I just say? That was 8, 9, 10. 11, ideas, give the parents ideas to keep their children entertained while they're working. Number 12, fun things to do with the family while social distancing. 13, shows, movies to watch on Hulu, Netflix, and Disney. 14, your listings. Do virtual tours, do virtual open houses, share a story, things like that. Send that out to relevant people. 15, do housing market updates. Keep people informed and educated, right, on what's happening right now and maybe even how that compares to in the past. 16, team members and video spotlights, right? Like do interviews with your vendors. 17, have your clients submit raw user-generated testimonials, right? 18, find 3 stories to tell with 3 good lessons for buyers and sellers right now. Find 3 stories to tell with 3 good lessons for buyers and sellers. 19, write out the buyer process, write out the selling process, and do multiple videos on each step of the way. Do 1 video step. And if you create that, now I recommend that one's a good one. I know I'm going to pause right here to record all in one day and then drop 1 a day. And then that, or you could post it all at one time because you want to create content too that people can binge. And another piece here, if you post things like that, like content that has themes, create albums in your Facebook and put all things like have a buyer album. If working with buyers, you know, do you need to buy or sell? That's your album name, or hashtag buyers, name your album, whatever you want, and throw all the content that's relevant to a buyer there. Same for sellers, maybe even one for renters, right? One for investors. And that way, when you have albums like that and you want to share, hey, you meet a new customer, you can send them the album and they can binge watch your content. Does that make sense? That would be like my pro tip because I do that with hashtag Wednesdays, and I send people to the album and they can binge watch videos related, you know, if they're a real estate professional, for example. Number 20, home improvement tips and ideas. Home improvement tips and ideas. 21, resources for kids that need food or, you know, educational materials, you know, how to pick up a laptop. Those are all things, I mean, I think we're a little late for that, but people still, you know, might need content and help with that. 22, how can people feed the homeless? How can we help the more vulnerable groups in our community? And provide links for that. And 21, 22, 23, 24, what businesses are still essential and how does that impact the community? And I'll say 25, what businesses are not essential and how does that impact the community? So we have at least 25 plus tips worthy of probably 50 videos right there of ideas that you could be using to create content that your customers are probably very interested in right now. I have, again, I'll share the acronym LEAD again, just one more time. That is listen, empower, appreciate, and develop. Your people need to be led right now, more than ever. And they're gonna look to you to be a leader because you're their community ambassador. You are their local hero. You have an opportunity to set yourself apart right now. You want people to come to you instead of Zillow, come to you instead of realtor.com, then you have to be a resource for them. And if you're not willing to be a resource, you're right. You are going to suffer and you will fail in this business. I'm just going to tell you that. That's just the reality. These things are causing our industry to change so rapidly and so dynamically that you have to change with it. If you don't want to change, you should retire. I'm sorry. But if you're not willing to change, you're probably going to have to retire from this business because this is where things are going. All right.